Facebook hailstorm. So we appreciate you being here with us where sports meets life. We were talking about Vin Scully, and for those of you that are going to watch this video and you're going to watch it, in real time or watch it, playback, I don't want to cut up what we were saying about Vin Scully. So I'm going to defer to Brendan Murphy here on DT and Murphy on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, to give your thoughts on Vin Scully and his memory, and then I'll share mine as well.
Yeah, so when we got cut off, we were talking a lot about some of his most famous calls, and people forget Vin didn't just do baseball.
Yeah.
Vin did football. Vin did golf. I think he might have even done some basketball back in the day too. But the amount of great plays that he's been a part of, or games. So I'm gonna just rattle some off.
Yeah.
Sandy Koufax's perfect game in 1965. The catch, Dwight Clark from Joe Montana to send the 49ers to the Super Bowl. The Buckner play, 1986 in the World Series. I think he called Jack Nicklaus's last Masters. I could be wrong about that. The Kirk Gibson home run. Kershaw's no-hitter. The amount of Aaron's home run, the amount of great calls he's been a part of have been unbelievable. And most of it he did solo.
Yeah.
That was the crazy part, is he did everything by himself. And for years, he simulcasted between radio and television. So radio and TV could get to hear Vin's voice. And he broadcasted the game, obviously, as if he was on radio.
Yeah.
Which I think is I think is a great way to broadcast, because if you look back at, and obviously me being a Mets fan, I love Gary Cohen too. So when I look back at somebody like Gary Cohen, who broadcasted radio for all those years and then transitioned into television when SNY was created, he treated at least the first couple of years as if he was still broadcasting on the radio.
Yeah.
Obviously, he moved more into that television role and kind of let the visuals speak for themselves. But it was, he always says he was a radio guy first, and so was Vin. Vin Scully. He told the story that when he was a kid, he used to, sit underneath the transistor radio with like a thing of crackers and some milk, and just listen to the roar of the crowd. And he said that was basically what got him to love the game and love baseball and sports in general. And he would say it was literally a college football game. But then he, in I think he said it was 1936, stumbled across a little thing that showed the final score of the Yankees and the Giants World Series game, and he became a Giants fan. Literally, his last game was 80 years to the day that happened. And the fact that he's able to remember that, and how ironic it was and how cool it was, is something I always admired about him. And he never lost his wit. He never lost his personality. And it always seemed like whenever you saw him, he was just so full of life.
Yeah.
So obviously, in the end, we lost the legend and Vin Scully, and you always get asked the question every once in a while, if there's like three people in history that you could sit down and have dinner with or have a drink with.
Yeah.
Vin Scully is and always will be on that list for me, because the stories that he could tell, how articulate he is, or how articulate he was.
Yeah.
With how he told stories, with what he did in life, and it was really kind of incredible, because he was able to do all these things at nearly 90 years old, especially at the end when he would do interviews and come back to Dodger Stadium after he retired. The fans loved him, the players loved him, the fans loved him. Even people that weren't Dodger fans loved him, like I did, because for broadcasters, he was my hero, is and always will be. Even more so than Gary Cohen. I love Gary Cohen. He's my favorite current announcer. But
yeah,
Vin Scully was always the GOAT. And it's obviously I want to say he died too young, but he was in his 90s. So, I mean, he lived a very full and very long life. And it was sad when he passed. I was I was sad. I was. But he's one of those guys that, like you said with Robin Williams, it gets to you, and
Yeah.
it touches you. It hits you hard.
Well, because they inspire.
Mm-hmm.
And, Robin Williams inspired me to, you know, tell all my comedy and share it with the world, share my heart with the world, share my personality, to not be afraid to do an impersonation of, in his Mrs. Doubtfire, I created a character called Alice, which was born out of somebody in my family making fun of me and being really derogatory toward me and my life and toward women. So I created this character as a way of like taking that power away. And it took me years to find peace, but then, to be called a certain name and then to bring a character to life and to put it back, that was my way of doing it. And Robin always told me it was okay. If you put on a wig and you want to play a character, it's fine. If you want to do a children's show cartoon, that's fine. If you want to do a more, edgy character, that's fine. But he was always out there letting his brain be what it is and letting it fire away. And his creativity, it inspired me. Stuart Scott, I had so many ideas of things that nobody was saying. Nobody was saying in school. Nobody was saying in broadcasting that I had seen. And I was like, oh, I got this idea. I have this quote. I have this thing that I want to say. And I was like, well, if I say it, I might be the only one saying it, which means people are either going to like it or they're going to laugh at me. Well, Stuart Scott told me to say it. He taught me how to say it, to not be afraid. And so when Stuart passed away, I did a tribute to him called The Mentor That Never Knew He Was My Mentor. And, to think about growing up, watching Stuart Scott when I was 10 and Rich Eisen, and I was afraid of the dark, and SportsCenter helped me sleep. And hearing Stuart Scott say cooler than the other side of the pillow. And then you fast forward all these years and I went to Dream Job at ESPN the weekend down in Hollywood Studios, and I'm with all these people and I'm by myself in Disney, and there's people with their family and their friends, whatever, and I'm by myself, and they say we need 3 people to do Dream Job, and everybody's standing waiting to get in as fans. And they literally walk up to you. You raise your hand. They pick somebody. They go to that person and they say, "Okay, go." And you have to, in that moment, wow them. So I'm sitting there saying to myself, "What story am I going to tell? What story am I going to tell?" And then something in my head said, "Well, you really like Kevin Garnett and Stephon Marbury when they played for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Do a play-by-play announcing of a game that you create in your head." And I'm raising my hand. There's a sea of hands being raised. And these people around me were like, dude, you got a good story. You got the best story. So these total strangers were like, pick him. Like, come to this guy. And the guy comes over to me. He goes, all right, go. And in the moment, I just created a play-by-play. And he looked at me and he goes, come with me. We went into a room. There's a woman. There's me. And there's a younger guy. And we're all in our separate rooms. They hand us a portable DVD player, and they say, what game do you want? And you have to pick between the World Series, college football, and the NFL Super Bowl. And I picked the Super Bowl at the time, which was the Cardinals-Steelers Super Bowl, and with Larry Fitzgerald and all that. So I picked that, and here I am, in this room, and they put you in the room for a few minutes. They give you a shot sheet, and you can follow what the shot sheet says, or you can do your own thing. The shot sheet's like a guider. And I was like, well, I can't say what they wrote for me because they're going to know that. And that's ridiculous. I have to be creative. So I remember sitting in that room and not having that much time. I watched it 3 or 4 times. And I looked at it, read it. Then I went through it and said, okay, put your feeling in it. Put this in it. And then just do it. And you're supposed to be in the soundproof room. And I'm just doing it. Then they bring you out on stage. I was the last person to go. And you think about Stuart Scott, and I thought to myself, there's something I'm going to say. And when I say this, people might laugh, and they might like it, they might not like it, but it's going to be me. And I came out, and Larry Fitzgerald, when he caught that pass from Kurt Warner, and he caught it, and the guys like missed him, and he took off. And I said, and I'm doing the game, and I'm sitting at the Sports Center desk, and I'm there in front of the people. The crowd's in front of me. I know nobody in the crowd. These are people from all over the world, arguably. And here's the big screen, and it's showing me, and it's showing the game. And they go to that clip of Larry Fitzgerald, and out of everything I did, that's the thing I remember the most. And I said, and Larry Fitzgerald catches it like he's in the Kentucky Derby, and he's off to the races. Dun 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 dun. And I did that in the moment, and I was like, and the horse crosses the finish line, gets in, but wait. Because like I said to my father that night, with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left on the board, we know that that's way too much time for Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And somebody must have taken ballet in school because he got those tippy toes in at the end. And I remember I did it, and I was like, Stuart Scott was always himself. I have to be myself. And I was myself. And I just gave it everything I could. And at the end of it, I just let it all out in that final breath. And I stopped, and the screen went black, and the entire crowd erupted, and they gave me a standing ovation, and they went nuts. And I remember sitting at that desk saying to myself, you sat in your home writing these stories for how many years, saying, I hope people laugh, I hope people get emotional in a good way, I hope they feel it, I hope they sense I hope they like my own feel to it. And when that moment happened, it was like vindication of being yourself and just feeling like people, they just took you for who you were, and you were a total stranger. And I was in front of Al Jaffe, who hired and fired for ESPN at the time. I was in front of two NFL players, Vernon Davis and Charles Tillman, of the Niners and the Bears respectively, tight end and corner. And it was one of the greatest moments of my life, and it was a reminder to me to be who I am. And Stuart Scott taught me that, and Robin Williams taught me that. So, when we talk about Vin Scully, and you talk about these people that have such an impact on you, it's what you said about Vin is he's on TV and he's on radio, and he did most of it by himself. Cut and paste. That was me at Marywood. And whenever we were, and yeah, you did it too. And whenever we, you did most of the games by yourself. I did most of the games by myself. And that's why I said I wasn't color or play-by-play. You learn to be both. And I never wanted to be pigeonholed. And when you talk about Vin Scully, like bringing these games to life, and even when he's on TV, he's acting like he's on the radio, and that's what I always taught myself in school. I said, even though we're on TV now, keep describing the game like they can't see it. Because if you describe the game and you paint the picture for them like they can't see the game, to the people on TV, you're describing the game and they're seeing it, and at the same time, they could be blind, right? They could be listening to the game. So to me, it's like, if you describe the game on television like it's on the radio, you're giving more than enough information to people that can see it, and you're letting everybody on the radio see it. And my default was, if we're on radio, describe it like they can't see it. If we're on radio and TV, describe it like they can't see it. Because the only way to tell the full story to everyone is to describe it like you're on radio, even when you're on TV. And I've been that way since 2003. So 20 years later, this November, to Vin Scully, kudos to you, and God bless to you, because I never knew we did it the same way, but it's an honor to do it the same way as Vin Scully, knowing that people speak so highly of him.
And I remember, during certain games, I would bring up Vin Scully, and because, I'll occasionally get asked, like, how I like doing it by myself. And I'm like, do I like doing it by myself? No, not really. I'd love to have, I always love to have someone to, bounce back and forth off of. And that's why when you came down into games, it was a lot of fun because we could bounce off each other. And, and obviously I kind of focused on the play-by-play aspect, and that's what I wanted to do. be the play-by-play guy. But at the same time, I always enjoyed telling stories.
Yeah.
I would, and since I was friends with a lot of the people on the teams, I would tell stories that they would give me the okay to say. Like, I remember talking about, Marissa Fernandez Tierney after her mom passed away from Alzheimer's. Now, I didn't mention it beforehand, but I told a story that day about my grandmother that had Alzheimer's and had passed.
Yeah.
And talked about how, I would wear purple wristbands for every baseball game after she got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And the ones I wore in high school, I put in the casket with her. And I basically told that story. And the next day, or the very next game, when her family was there, when she came back, they came up to me and basically said how much they appreciated that. Being able to tell the story, even though obviously as tragic and sad as it is, having that personal experience to be able to tell that story, they kind of said it helped give them a little bit of peace. And, that was something that touched me a little bit. Because even though, you're broadcasting a game and you're trying to do the best you can to, paint a picture and obviously this is Division III college basketball and you're, are there going to be a ton of people watching it? No, but a lot of the people that are going to be watching it will be friends and family of the players, right? So I constantly had parents coming up to me and they'll say, like they appreciate everything that I did, and I'm sure it was the same way for you back in the day as well. Yeah. But that one from Marissa's family was the one that kind of touched me the most, because I was able to give that personal experience and being from the standpoint that I understand what they're going through, and I understand how horrible of a disease that Alzheimer's is, and the fact that I was able to make it a little bit better for them, that meant the world to me. So, and obviously in their time in the morning when they, had lost their mother and their wife and their sister, and obviously it's terrible what happened, and just to be able to help them out and. While she's watching her teammates play and, play inspired basketball for her.
Yeah.
It was cool to be able to do that. So that's the one for me that stands out as like, that was the coolest. For me, that was the coolest interaction, and knowing that I was able to be that, help things maybe feel a little bit more normal.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that, because dementia and Alzheimer's, and my grandmother, my mom's mom had dementia, and she had a light form of it. She rarely got mad. She didn't really change for like a decade plus of having it. And then my other grandma, my dad's mom, had Alzheimer's. And, there were days where she forgot she had a spoon in her hand and staring out the window, and it's tough, but there's beauty in it. Like my grandmother, my dad's mom, I call her Gammy Miller. So my Gammy, she was a very upset person. She was very negative. She was very depressed. She was constantly like down. And when she got Alzheimer's, the last couple of years of her life, she forgot what she was mad about. So, in a way, Alzheimer's, which a lot of people say traps you in your mind, it freed her from her mind. It freed her from her pain. It freed her from her frustration. It freed her from her negativity. And I'll never forget, there was one day we were sitting down in the lobby of the nursing home, and we were by the piano, and she was sitting in her wheelchair. And something inside of me was like, just go over to her. And I put my head on her shoulder. And she laid her head on my head. So my head's on her shoulder and her head's on my head. And she smiled. And there was just this picture of like calm, like peace and comfort on her face. And I remember saying, I was like, she said I love you that day, but she didn't say it. But I heard it. And when I put my head on her shoulder and she put her head on my head, I just heard, I love you. And I found so much peace in her not being mad anymore. And so, in a way, Alzheimer's, as bad as it helped her to not be upset anymore. And at the same time, there's certain things like Carvel, and I work with Carvel more than any other company. Carvel DeWitt, I mean, we had Carvel cakes all throughout our lives. And we celebrated so many events with them. And my grandmother could forget everything. But on her birthday, we brought her a Carvel cake, and she smiled and she ate that thing in about 2 seconds, no brain freeze. And it's those memories. So, and
Mm-hmm.
I know about, Marissa's story a little bit, not as much as you, obviously. But to go through that is sad, and it's hard. And to somebody like Robin Williams or somebody like Vince Scully, or I mean, to anybody to lose their thoughts, to Robin Williams, for someone who his quick firing brain was what made him who he was, and to Vince Scully, to you, to me, our thought is we never want to forget, because your job as someone who speaks for a living is to be able to deliver a message, and to deliver it in your own unique way, to have your own unique voice, and to be compelling and to reach the hearts and minds of people by just being who you are. And so, to the Vin Scullys of the world, and to the Robin Williams of the world, and to Marissa's mom, and to your grandmother, and to my grandma that had Alzheimer's, and my grandma that had dementia, to everybody that's out there, to really, and to everybody that's dealing with it now, if we can find a cure for anything besides cancer, then,
That's the one.
I would definitely say with dementia and Alzheimer's, to find cures for that, to put money toward that, and to find a prevention so that people can keep their mind as they continue on in their life all the way to the end. And when people say, how do you know that God exists? Well, that day when my grandma put her head on my head and I heard I love you. And also with my grandmother, my mom's mom with dementia, G Mama, she was 100, almost 101. And she never forgot me. If she ever had a moment, she would remember. But she's 100 years old. She's in a hospital bed. She has pneumonia. She's been sleeping. I walk into the room. My dad's sitting in a chair. My mom's standing next to her bed at Kraus. My grandmother opens her eyes a little bit and she goes, Daniel Boone. And she proceeded to sing to me. And I had a bunch of people say to me, did you see your grandma? I said, yeah. They said, she up in the hospital? I said, yeah. They said, what's she doing? I said, she was singing to me. They said, are you kidding me? They said, what do you mean? I said, my grandmother. They said, your grandmother's sitting there with pneumonia, 100 years old, and she's singing to you? I said, that's my grandma. And
Mm-hmm.
and when she passed, and you talk about stuff like this, when she passed, I'm going to try not to. When she passed, I folded up a pink wake-up call with Dan Tortora shirt. I folded it, and I put it right next to her, right by her hand, and because she always listened, and she was a fan, and she always taught me how to keep my voice and stay strong. Um, I'll never forget. I came home with a wake up call shirt on, and anytime I came home with any one of my shirts, she would say, "Don't I get one of those? Is that mine?" And I got to a point where I just started handing her mine. I was like, you know what? I'll get another one. So, I think people need to really understand and know that you can focus on what the world tells you, and there's a reason why I don't watch the news, and or you can focus on what you have. And there's a great quote at the beginning of Secret Invasion, And the second part of it's different because they say, like, what if the people that you love aren't the people who say they are? Because obviously in Secret Invasion, there's aliens and stuff. But it's the first thing that they say. They say when you grow up in, you're in a world right now where they continue to divide. And the news says one thing and a website says another. Who do you turn to? Who can you trust? And it's very true. This TV show is made at a perfect time in our society, in America, unfortunately. But you turn to the people that you love, and you turn to those relationships, and you turn to the people that motivate you and they move you. People can have any opinion they want to have on me, my voice, the way I carry myself, talking about God on the show, how I do everything that I do. But my voice and my personality is going to carry me to the top of the mountain. And when I get there with God, we're going to go to the next one. And that's just how it is. I really don't care what people's opinions are of me. And, Vin Scully and Robin Williams and my grandmothers and, so many people in this world, Stuart Scott, they affect your life in such a tremendous way. And if you can affect one person that can turn around and say to you, what you said that one day to me or on your show or whatever, like what you said in that movie, it reached me so deeply that I carry it with me in my heart and in my mind. And when I have that moment of strife, when someone tells me I can't, when somebody makes fun of me, when somebody puts me down, when I make a mistake, I reach into that thing that you said to me. I pull it out of that locket around my neck and I read it. And you always hope that you can do that for somebody. And I'd be lying if I said that I don't want to leave this world with at least one person saying, something you said or something you did or how you carried yourself, that helped me get to where I am today. Because who are we in this world if we don't pay it forward?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And when, so with my grandmother, so my mom went down. So this is my mom's mother. She went down, I want to say on like a Monday or a Tuesday. It was in the summer. And she was planning on going down for a day or two and then come home because we knew that it was probably getting close, but we didn't know when.
Yeah.
My mom calls me 2 days later because she was planning on coming home on Wednesday. She calls me and says, "If you want to see her, get here tomorrow," because I don't know how much longer she's got. So I will remember this forever. My old Honda Civic, busted air conditioning.
Yeah.
It was 95 degrees that day. I had a 2-hour drive to Colts Neck, New Jersey to go see her. I was dying in the car, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
I went there. I was probably only there for maybe 2 or 3 hours or so, and then I went home. But when I left, it was one of those things where I put my hand on her hand and told her I loved her and said goodbye because I knew that was going to be it. I knew that's the last time I was going to see her.
Yeah.
And she looked over at me and she smiled, and that's all I needed to hear. And I went home. I took the ride home. She made another few days. I think she made it to the 4th. So the 4th of July is not exactly the world's easiest day for my mom.
Yeah.
Because that's the anniversary.
Yeah.
But all I know is that was my last interaction with her, and that's something I'll never forget. It's one of those things where I may not be able to say it, but like you said with your grandma, you knew it. So that's always been my story with her, and and she knows it. She was my last one. She was my last grandparent that was still around, and because both my parents were the youngest of 4, so my grandparents were older. So like when my dad's parents died, my grandpa was 89. He died when I was 12. My grandmother was in her late 70s, and she died when I was, I think, 9. But but all of mine are gone. So for me, it's my aunts and uncles that are, like those, especially like on my mom's side. Like my uncle George and my uncle Frank both have had heart attacks in the past and have had heart issues.
Yeah.
So, I dread the day that I get that phone call, but I'm hoping it's a long time away. I really do. But we've been on a very somber note for a little while here.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
let's
but to raise it up, my grandmother has a connection to rain. She's rainbows they have a lot of meaning in my life. And June 24th is the day that my grandmother went back to heaven 6 years ago. And my mom and my aunt and I went out to Albany area to Buca di Beppo restaurant in Colony, New York. And we went out there on June 24th, this past Saturday, to have dinner. And the last time I was there was for my grandma and grandpa's 40th wedding anniversary. I was in a high chair. And when we left the restaurant, there was a rainbow.
Look at that.
And
Isn't that cool?
And I smiled and I said, "Hey, G," because she always comes on time. And then after that, yesterday, I was having a conversation about something I was trying to figure out. And I was debating on what I was going to have for dinner. And I went outside. And I turned to my left while I was on the phone. And that was sitting outside of my house, the entire arch.
There you go.
And then there was a faint second one. And then as I continued to have the conversation, a cardinal showed up and flew by me twice.
Isn't the Cardinals supposed to represent people we've lost?
Yep. It's the return of people that have passed away. And so at a time where I was having this, what do I do and how do I do it, and I need an answer, my grandma sent a rainbow, and then a rainbow, and then a rainbow, and then a cardinal. And all I could do was sit here and say, I asked for one sign from God, and God
gave you four.
Gave me four. And he gave them to me, like, literally just without doubt. And so, yeah, I mean, it's tough to have people pass away, but like you said, to spin a somber note to a positive note, rainbows and cardinals is how I spent the end of my weekend, and my grandmother showing herself. So when people say, how do you know God exists?
That's how.
What'd you say?
That's how.
Yeah, that's how. And I would always look at people and say, how do you not know? And so just like my grandmother would say to me all the time, G Mama, I'd say, Grandma, you read the newspaper every day. There's all this bad news. You watch the TV. There's a rape. There's a murder. There's a fire. There's a burglary. How do you stay positive? And she looked at me, and you heard her crumple the newspaper, and she goes, well, what's the alternative? And every time I get stressed out and nuts and bothering myself, I think about what she said. And it's like, Dan, you're letting the world get to you. What did your grandmother tell you? Besides being positive, well, what the heck's the alternative? I don't even know what the alternative is because I'm focused on being positive. So on a positive,
absolutely,
on a positive and happy note, thank you for coming to visit, G. And I look forward to what your message and what God's message is for me. And I want to say this before we go because I'm really excited. Major League Baseball All-Star Week. It's a week now. It's coming up. Friday, July 7th, the HBCU Classic will happen. It's the inaugural event that will gather baseball student athletes from Division I programs at historically black colleges and universities, a.k.a. HBCU. And the name fittily recognizing Mariners icon Ken Griffey Jr., powered by the MLB and MLBPA Youth Development Foundation. So we will see that on Friday, July 7th. On Saturday, July 8th, you'll see the All-Star Futures game. The brightest stars of tomorrow will take the field for the matchup of the top prospects that are nearing the majors. And many of today's All-Stars made their first appearance on a Major League stage at the All-Star Futures game. So we'll see that
Yep.
on Saturday, July 8th. On Saturday, July 8th, we will also see the celebrity softball game. Fun-filled celebrity.
That's always fun.
Yeah, some of the biggest names in entertainment and pop culture will play softball. I would love to do that someday. And then in 2023, and then, on Sunday, July 9th, we'll see the 2023 Major League Baseball Draft Day, which is in connection with All-Star Weekend, which I love. Is part of putting it all together. So you're in the middle of the baseball season, seeing the future of baseball.
They just started doing that too.
Right, and that's why I love it. That they, so during the middle of a season, it's a little bit past the midway point of the Major League Baseball season. You're seeing future All-Stars, and you're seeing future draft picks. So you're seeing the future of Major League Baseball in the Futures All-Star game and in the draft. And then we'll see it as part of the draft shifting back a month, being held with the Midsummer Classic since 2021. You can look at this and watch it in person. The first round will include some players being on site, which is awesome. And then on Monday, July 10th, we'll have the Home Run Derby. And
my favorite part of All-Star Week.
And we know how great that's been in recent history with this guy in the last couple of years that sits right off camera, Pete Alonso. And
yes, sir.
We got that there. And then the All-Star game will be Tuesday, July 11th. It's the 93rd Midsummer Classic. So now we have something on Friday in the HBCU Classic. On Saturday, we have the All-Star Futures game and the Celebrity Softball game. Sunday, we have the MLB Draft. Monday, we have the Home Run Derby. And Tuesday, we have the All-Star game, bringing us from Friday, July 11th to Tuesday, or Friday, July 7th to Tuesday, July 11th, which is awesome. And yeah, so with that being said and the positive news, why don't we do some show and tell?
Yeah, so I figured before we go, obviously we got into a really great conversation there. So I just want to finish up, because I still haven't. The box is still empty. I haven't even opened it yet.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to show you what we've got in here. But before we do that, I'll show you the other card that's really cool that I picked up yesterday. And we talked a little bit about the Braves today and their young players that they've been locking up to cheap deals.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. Check this one out. So Ronald Acuna Jr.,
yeah,
Bowman Best 2017 pre-rookie autograph in it's a refractor, and it's a Beckett 9.5.
That's
this
awesome.
thing, I'm hoping, flies out of my showcase in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a card that a lot of people are going to be interested in.
He's one of the players that people have just been focused on over the last couple of years is Acuna.
Yep.
They just want.
So that's exactly why I got it.
Yeah.
I don't think that card would ever go down in value. All right, so now it's time for the.
Well, wait, I'm going to do my show and tell because I want you to do that last.
Okay.
So, because this is something that neither one of us we haven't seen it in person yet. So, this is numbered to 40. Let me see here, 49 in the world, and it is a jersey piece. This is just for me. It's a jersey piece of Fred Taylor and Leonard Fournette, two of my favorite backs in the history of Jacksonville. But I love this one because I love this guy's story. And the first time I ever saw him was when he appeared in an episode of Boy Meets World, my favorite TV show growing up and one of my favorites to this day. And there's the difference between sign on card and sign on the sticker. This is an on card signing from New York Yankees historic pitcher Jim Abbott.
Oh, that's cool.
And so
he's got a great backstory. He so for those that don't know, he was born with one hand.
Yeah.
And he got to the major leagues and he threw a no-hitter. It was, excuse me, he has a really cool backstory as well.
And it says on the back of it, congratulations, you have received a personally autographed, Jim Abbott cards here. So it's got a big congratulatory thing on the back, which is cool. This one I like, and I got this in an eBay bid, I believe. It's number 14 of 99 in the world. Immaculate Collection. And this is an on-card signing from Brandon Shipley when he was a pitcher at Arizona. And I believe that this is a tricolor, because when I get patches, I try to get the tricolor patch, and I have a bunch of them. This is a tricolor red, white, and black, and I believe it's the R in Arizona because of the way that it's the way that you could see it here. It's a Brandon Shipley tricolor, part of the letter R, on card signing of 99 in the world, and I just loved it because of the patch and because obviously it's a signed card and it's numbered and it's Arizona.
That's a cool one.
This one I can't believe, but this is because now I got this card and I feel very blessed to have this card, but I feel like I got this card because people are so focused on now. In the basketball world, it's like, give me LeBron, give me Kevin Durant. Well, I found this card, and this is limited to 25 in the world, and it's number 3. And it is a patch of his jersey and his signature, and you wouldn't believe that I got this for under $50. Larry Bird.
Wow. How is that less than $50?
Because everybody was focused on the LeBron James and all these other cards. That's
crazy, man. That's awesome.
Larry Bird signature. It's the sticker put onto the card. So Larry Bird signature, number 3 of 25 in the world, and his jersey. My grandfather would have fell out of his chair. I'm sure up in heaven he is. And this is the last one. I told you that I'd link something back to Hank Aaron. Well, I never even knew that they did these. I thought whenever there was something in a card, it was a patch. It was a piece of a jersey. I never thought that they had done bat shavings.
Yep.
That they would cut down a bat, stick it into a card. I never knew anything about this. Well, there's 200 of these in the world. This is number 75. I have a piece of Hank Aaron's bat in this card.
That's cool.
Untouched by me. Cool. Suspended in here. Don't even take it out of anything. I have a piece of Hank Aaron's bat sitting in this card. And
I have a couple piazzas of those, I think. A couple jerseys, couple bats.
Well,
they're really cool.
And there's one that I wanted to show today, but I'm going to hold until another day. And it's another relic, but I never knew that I could get a baseball bat relic.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's cool.
Any bat that's ever been touched by Hank Aaron, I'll take it. And so I don't care if he was playing with.
It'd be like getting a Babe Ruth one.
What'd you say?
It'd be like getting a Babe Ruth bat.
Yeah. So getting a piece of Hank Aaron's bat here means a lot to me, and I got a bunch of other things I'll leave off for today, but let's open up. Let's do an actual opening for the first time ever on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
I'm not gonna show the front because it's got my address and everything on it, but
yeah, don't do that.
Let's open it up, baby.
They asked Kelly Clarkson on Sirius yesterday her address, and she was like, "No." So don't give your address, Brendan.
So I know exactly what's in here.
Yeah.
Obviously, the fans don't.
Yeah.
This card is from a player that is an all-time great. Mm-hmm. So he's a name that everybody's going to know.
Okay.
And I haven't seen it yet, so I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And looks like this one was delivered. Here we go. This is cool. So this one was actually delivered from the vault at PSA, which is pretty cool. And eBay has this thing where they can do from there.
Yeah.
So you got the eBay authenticity guarantee.
Yeah.
This is pretty darn sweet. So let's open it up. And the card's going to be sitting in a holster. So let's see. Another win for your collection. Congratulations on your withdrawal from the eBay vault. And everything's going from PSA. Oh, baby. Ready?
I'm ready. First ever unveiling on the show.
Mickey Mantle.
That's crazy.
1967 Mickey Mantle in a PSA 3. This is not the first Mickey Mantle card that I've owned that I held in my hands.
Yeah.
I had bought one the very next day after I bought this one. And I actually sold it yesterday. So that one's already gone. But this one I'm gonna probably put out in my case when I do the show.
Yeah.
But this was the first Mickey Mantle card I ever purchased for myself. And it just being able to hold this in my hands is really cool. Like an actual Mickey Mantle card from his playing days. So it's pretty darn cool. And I actually just bought another one last night that's gonna be here in a few days. So there's some other cool stuff that I'll be showing off next week when it all comes in, but I'll have to show some stuff off after the show too. How all that goes. So because next week will be our last one before that show. So that'll be pretty darn cool. But this was what was in the box. 1967 Topps Mickey Mantle.
That's awesome. Yeah, anything Mickey Mantle gives me the chills because it makes me think of my Uncle Bill, who's up in heaven right now. And God bless to you. He actually gave me stuff that is sitting here in the studio that I might have to show next time. So we talked a little bit about college football. We didn't get into the NFL. We chose to talk about our grandmothers and to talk about family more than Aaron Rodgers and the weird things that are coming out of his mouth, and I'm okay with that. So
me too.
So with that being said, Murph, I will bid you adieu until next week. For DT and Murphy on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora exclusively, starting off your week with Murph and I every week on Wake Up Call. We appreciate you being here. And Murph, as always, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you too, sir. I will see you next week.
Sounds good. That coming from Brendan Murphy here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. We're going to take our final step aside here on the show and get you set and ready to go right after this. Just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and of course giving you some extra time today as we typically do. Make sure you're tuning in with us every single Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, as well as on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. And you can find all of these feeds by going to wakeupcalldt.com, saving, bookmarking, and subscribing to our website for free. And on the homepage of wakeupcalldt.com in the morning, every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, go to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage, and you can click on the Facebook YouTube, or the YouTube logo, or you can click on the Podbean feed, and they'll play live from right there off the site. You can search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora when we jump our shows into the archive, which a bunch of them will be added this week. Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Player FM, Podbean, and Podvine, as well as Boomplay and Podchaser. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on your favorite podcasting platform, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, and you will be able to find us and listen to us from wherever you are, anywhere in the world. So make sure you subscribe and follow when you listen to the podcast. Subscribe to it, follow it, so you'll be notified when new ones get added as well. And with that being said, I want to thank our incredible partners in the community. Big time thanks to Carvel DeWitt, where we have our signature DT Dolphin Sunday exclusively there in connection with our exclusive partnership with the Lemoyne College Dolphins. The Wildcat Sports Pub, Mother's Cupboard, where we have our exclusive breakfast sandwich, the Cuse McMother, available to you 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., and on 3709 James Street in Syracuse. Bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. We just did the Cuse McMother Challenge, the creator versus the owner, myself versus Pete Green, and you can watch the video to see who won. Carvel DeWitt, the DT Dolphin, is also available 7 days a week, and it's minutes away from Mother's Cupboard. So you can go get my breakfast sandwich, and then later on in the day get my Sunday if you want. So if you're coming into Syracuse for a day, you can tackle both of them just a few miles apart at Mother's Cupboard on 3709 James Street in Syracuse, and down the road in DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York for Carvel DeWitt. Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, PB&J's Lunchbox, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Great Lakes Honda City, Chick-fil-A Watertown, Avicoli's, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, and 317 Aunt Montgomery Street. The name of the location is the name of the restaurant and the exclusive home of our Downtown with Dan video tasting series. And we got a new one coming up this week. We're supposed to do it last week and we had a schedule change. So Downtown with Dan will come to you from 317 at Montgomery Street this week, which I can't wait. 5-star Michelin restaurant, in my opinion, right here, nestled in downtown Syracuse. And of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call. AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, comes to you every first and third Wednesday of each month, and those are Wednesdays at 9 a.m. during Dolphin time, and every second and fourth Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. The Dolphin Dive has new additions with student athletes as well as coaches, future Dolphins, alumni, and administration, all coming to you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We underpromise and overdeliver, so we have more specials than simply doing just one each Wednesday. We have a bunch that come throughout the month, especially recently. You can find them all by subscribing to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as by going to our Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com. For more information on your Dolphins, go to LemoyneDolphins.com. And as always, Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can find the Bobcats every single month in the Bobcat Buzz. Our most recent special with Brian Yurton gives our first exclusive spotlight on esports at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. You don't want to miss out on that and every cool idea we have coming up with the esports program and Brian Yurton. And very much looking forward to all the things they're going to be doing in the ever-growing world of esports and having them as student athletes at your college. Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. We bring you student athletes, coaches, and administration from the fantastic college located right there on James Street in Syracuse, New York. And of course, all of those stories are on the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com, as well as on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. For more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And as always, go Bobcat Nation. Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we appreciate you being here with us. Make sure that you go to our social media and buy our Dan Tortora Broadcast Media official products, official gear, official merchandise on our website that we have through EC Specialties. So make sure you check those out. Big thanks to East Coast Specialties and Mark Burrell for bringing my dreams to fruition. And a big thanks to my graphic designer, John Grenquist, for bringing my logos to life. So definitely go out and buy the Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, Wake Up Call, Superpowered Pop, Comic Book Trails, and Do Diz with Dan gear, all on one website. And we've been sharing those on our social media, so you can check those out today. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Big thanks to Brendan Murphy. A big thanks to our loved ones and to those wonderful people like Vin Scully and Robin Williams and Stuart Scott that have left such an impact on our life in a positive way. A big thanks to you for watching and listening. And as always, God bless, no stress, do your best. Wake Up Call has a lot of special breaking news coming up. A lot of special announcements. You thought unveiling the website with all of our gear was big. Well, we got some other big pieces coming up too, and I can't wait. So God bless y'all. Have a great day. Enjoy your last week of June together as one. Let's be good to each other and let's be positive. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.